Hello everyone, my name is Alex Eischeid and I am a conceptual photographer based here in Norman, Oklahoma. I'm so excited to be here at Uncanny Art House to present Down in the Dumps, my very first solo exhibition. I am a huge lover of cinema. My background is in film, and so whenever I can marry the two, cinema and photography together, I am in like heaven. I really wanted to frame this exhibition in like the hero's journey arc, and so I wanted to start with this first one, The Ordinary World. This just introduces us to our protagonist of the story, and it really grounds her in this almost familiar scene. It's very homey, and the colors are a little bit all over the place, but I was very intentional with the colors of the series throughout, which we will get to here in a bit. Our second image is titled Dimpled. And as you can see, there's like a lot going on here. There's a lot of repetition, but then we just get this big splash of red right there at the bottom, and it is titled Dimpled on Purpose. In today's society, women are constantly shown what the standard of beauty should be in social media, on billboards, television commercials, even our magazines feature AI-generated women to show us what beauty should look like. We can't even strive towards what a real woman should be. We have to use a computer-generated woman. And so that is why I wanted these next two pieces to be very chaotic and in your face and just a little bit overwhelming, because I wanted to start with a lot of tension to build up this uneasy feeling inside the viewer so that we can eventually get around that, come towards a semi-resolution. This next one is titled Textured, and same themes from dimple to textured. We have the mannequin's face. The mannequin represents what beauty should be and what we are taught it looks like. Next, we come to Rabbit Hole. This one is the next few are a little bit self-explanatory. I didn't want to have too many implicit meanings at the very beginning of the series, just so that the viewer can kind of really understand what was going on in the story. But with Rabbit Hole, our protagonist is really quite literally falling down this rabbit hole of like what beauty should look like. And for this, I pulled images and words from vintage advertisements, which I thought was pretty cool. All of them look very much so the same, and the words that were used throughout were very odd and just not normal. But I liked it because it really played into the theme of the show. These next two are a set that go together. This first one is called Ducks in a Row. Now we will really see the main color scheme of the set. We see our protagonist in red. She really stands out. Red represents, psychologically, it represents lust, and it also represents rage. Our other characters in here, we are seeing the mannequins yet again. There's lots of mannequins, and she is in different shades and patterns of green. Green represents obsession, and it also represents envy. And also, red is a primary color. Red itself is a perfect color all on its own. And it is also used to create countless other colors in the color wheel. And so that's why I really wanted our protagonist to be set in red. And then we get to the chosen one. All of the other mannequins, they're being sold off. Oftentimes, as women, we can feel almost like cattle, and you're the chosen one, you're the chosen one, you're the chosen one. You, not so much. So with this one, we even have the children be choosing the mannequin over our protagonist. And then we come over to She's Come Undone. This is one of my favorite images in the series. It is very chaotic, and the color scheme is a monochromatic red. The red in the image is very, very overwhelming, and that's on purpose. Our protagonist is overwhelmed. She has this measuring tape wrapped around the neck. We have these magazines that are mirroring all of that. Women that men despise, a woman looking in the mirror. We have mirrors placed all around the scene showing the reflection of our protagonist. She's on the floor. What else can she do? Then it moves into abyss. She is alone. She is quite literally in darkness, and she has nowhere else to go. And one of my favorite little bits of this is we can see the mannequin in the reflection of her eyes. So even though she is alone, she is still left with the sight of the mannequin haunting her almost. Now we move into this set of 5 images. The first one is clearing the stock, and this goes back to The Chosen One and Ducks in a Row. We're left with this one woman, our main protagonist. She is left, and so what do we do with her? We're just gonna put her in the dumpster, and the dumpster is green on purpose, and we move into Down in the Dumps. This is the image that inspired the entire set. I've had this image in my head for years, but I had to, it required me to actually be in a dumpster. I love shooting my images practically. I do use quite a bit of Photoshop, but I think getting our hands messy and doing things practically is just so much more rewarding. So I spent quite a bit of time trying to find the perfect dumpster to use, and I was not successful. So I ended up renting a dumpster and having it sent to my house and shooting this at my home. Now we are moving into confirmation bias. We are introduced to a secondary character. Who is she? She looks a lot like our protagonist, but it's almost one of those same but different hairstyles, different outfits. So this one is confirmation bias. What she is seeing, is that really real? So she goes to go check in the dumpster, one man's trash, and then we go on to another woman's treasure. She pulled her out of the trash and she's taking her out. So in the beginning of the set, we are reading it from right to left. Where we live, we naturally want to read stories from left to right. That's how we read books. That's usually how we read photographs. But I really wanted to start the set right to left to build that tension without the viewer even realizing why that tension is there. So we're reading right to left, but now towards the end of the set, we are reading left to right to almost give us that resolution at the end of the story. So now we come to self-care. Now we have a closer look at this secondary character. Who is she? She is a protector, a comforter, and a guide, and someone who will be very important to our protagonist. Then we have Mondi. This one has a little bit of religious undertones to it. If you are familiar with Mondi, it is when Jesus washed the feet of his disciples after the Last Supper. So this is set very intentionally at the end of a table, and our secondary character is cleaning up our protagonist's face. Now we are going to move into the final space of the exhibit, and we have atonement. So now we have ended exactly where we began, but we see our protagonist. She's in the same almost red, but not quite red. It's more of a rust, and in the same cut, and she feels a lot more relaxed. This is supposed to represent that an almost rebirth has occurred. I hope that the viewer feels that there is some resolution here. Her guide has showed her if we abandon our ego and let go of the material things in life, that we can accept redemption. And a tiny little detail, one of my favorite details in this set, is that the picture above them is now askew, whereas before it was perfectly placed. And here in this space where this is set up, I have recreated the scene from the very first image and the last image so that people can see where it was shot and they can take their own images in the space. Right across from the last setup that we have, if you are facing this wall from the couch, then you will see a smaller series of mine titled Silver Linings. Silver Linings is probably my most personal series that I've been working on. It's an everlasting series that I will probably work on until the end of my days, because this is a subject that I think that feelings, emotions are always going to change. But this really deals with me deciding to go no contact with my mother and the fractured relationship that I have with her and how it has affected how I mother my own children. And so it is how I see the silver linings in kind of a shitty situation and turning it into something good for my family. There's lots of reds throughout. I use red as a highlight in a lot of my work just because, one, it stands out, and red has so much meaning and significance in just a color that I just love it so much. And I also thought that it was important to end on this one because so much of our foundation with our parental figures will shape how we view ourselves and hold ourselves from childhood until adulthood. And so a lot of times, if we don't have that strong foundation, it can really affect how we view ourselves as adults. And so I thought that it would play really nicely into the theme of acceptance and loving yourself despite all of the other circumstances that come into our lives. I hope that the viewers take away from the exhibition is that there is always beauty in the imperfect and to always be yourself no matter what.